All right, class, welcome to the Explainer. Settle in, because today we are doing a high-speed chronological dive into the relentless treaties, the strategic purchases, and the absolutely aggressive diplomacy that built the United States. We're going to track exactly how a vulnerable little string of East Coast colonies capitalized on distracted global empires to literally buy and fight their way across an entire continent.
Here is our syllabus for today's Explainer. 1. From colonies to Louisiana. 2. Florida, Texas, and Oregon. 3. Forging a bicoastal empire. 4. Expanding beyond the continent. And finally, 5. The birth of a superpower.
Let's jump right into Section 1, From Colonies to Louisiana, how the vulnerable republic stepped up. Now, it's pretty easy to forget that North America was once entirely dominated by Spain, France, and Britain. But look at how kinetic this timeline is. In 1754, the British beat the French. By 1776, the colonists are rebelling against British taxes, and they actually win independence by 1781. To survive as a unified front against these massive global empires, they establish a brand new constitution, with George Washington stepping up to take charge in 1789.
Now this next move, it's just sheer brilliant opportunism. The new US desperately needed the Mississippi River for trade. Meanwhile, over in Europe, Napoleon Bonaparte needed cash to invade Britain. So he calculated a massive strategic win-win. He'd sell his vast North American territory to the Americans to fund his war and keep them away from the British in the process.
And boom, the Louisiana Purchase happens in 1803 for exactly $15 million. I mean, this is a staggering foreign policy masterstroke. In a single diplomatic transaction, America secured the vital Mississippi River, completely ended the French presence in North America, and instantly doubled the size of the entire country.
Moving right along to Section 2, Florida, Texas, and Oregon. Welcome to the era of manifest destiny.
So, the American population is booming, literally doubling almost every 20 years, and that relentless march west really starts accelerating. In 1819, America capitalizes on Spain's weakening grip on its empire, buying Florida directly and drawing a hard boundary line. This is textbook geopolitical opportunism, right? Striking a major deal right when a rival empire is totally distracted.
Now watch this simultaneous Brinkmanship going on in the 1840s. Down south, American settlers in Mexican Texas break free, and the US officially annexes the Republic by 1845. But meanwhile, up north, they are concurrently negotiating with the British to lock down the Pacific Northwest, slicing up the Oregon Territory. They're pulling off massive expansion on two completely different fronts at the exact same time.
Which brings us to Section 3, Forging a Bicoastal Empire, where conflict meets real estate.
Now, this incredible momentum brings us to a violent climax because, well, it wasn't all just peaceful checkbooks. A border dispute over newly annexed Texas sparked an ugly but incredibly decisive war with Mexico. The US aggressively used its military force, ultimately securing a treaty that completely redrew the map and captured the exact northern territories that President Polk had been desiring all along.
And the massive price tag for cementing this true bicoastal empire? Another $15 million paid to Mexico at the end of the war for those sprawling northern territories, which, by the way, today include California, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Just like with Louisiana, $15 million radically altered the global map forever.
And honestly, this next move perfectly illustrates the pragmatic, highly transactional nature of American empire building. Just 5 years later, the US zooms in on the southern border and buys another much smaller strategic chunk of land from Mexico for $10 million. This wasn't about the glory of manifest destiny. This was a strategic land buy specifically for infrastructure, just to allow for the easier construction of a transcontinental railroad.
All right, Section 4, Expanding beyond the continent. It's time to cross the oceans.
So after surviving a devastating civil war in the 1860s, fought, of course, over the deep internal division of slavery, a reunited America started looking beyond its own shores. When the Tsar of Russia offered up Alaska, American diplomats didn't just accept, they aggressively haggled. They started at $5 million, got pushed to $7 million, and closed the entire deal in a single night.
For a mere $7 million in 1867, the US secured a massive, icy chunk of the globe. And why does this matter? Well, it signals a major geopolitical shift. America was no longer just filling out continental borders, it was strategically positioning itself on the global map.
Meanwhile, over in the Pacific, American businessmen actually seized control of Hawaii, which triggered a really fierce domestic debate back home.
On one side, anti-imperialists argued that America shouldn't conquer weaker nations. But on the other side, strategic realists countered that if America didn't secure Hawaii, rival powers like Germany or Japan would absolutely use it as a future military base. It was a classic clash of morality versus military advantage.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, Birth of a Superpower on the global stage.
The old policy of staying out of foreign conflicts was about to completely shatter. The year 1898 is an absolute flashpoint. A mysterious warship explosion in Cuba triggers a decisive war, effectively ending the remnants of the Spanish Empire. In rapid succession, the U.S. captures Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines, and immediately annexes Hawaii to serve as an absolutely crucial Pacific naval base.
Now, a newly minted global maritime power needs to move its massive new navy quickly between oceans, right? So under energetic President Theodore Roosevelt, the U.S. executes a truly ruthless maneuver. Step 1. Offer Colombia $10 million to build the canal. Colombia rejects it. Step 2. Simply support the region of Panama in declaring independence from Colombia. Step 3. Make the deal with the newly independent Panama and successfully finish the Panama Canal by 1914.
So, when we merge all these historical acquisitions onto a final ledger, it reveals a frankly staggering volume of calculated treaties and aggressive brinkmanship, from millions of dollars handed to Napoleon and the Russian Tsar to sheer annexation and full-blown war with Mexico and Spain. In just over a single century, the modern map was completely drawn.
So class, I'm leaving you with this final question to chew on today. From a fragile strip of colonies in 1783 to a two-ocean naval powerhouse by 1914, was this 115-year march a product of inevitable destiny? Or was it the most aggressive, pragmatic real estate acquisition strategy in human history? Review the data and decide for yourselves. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the map.